Hi, my amazing planner friends. It's Jess from My Magical Planner, and today we're going to be going over our reflections for 2024 in my MakseLife Reflection Notebook. In case you're unfamiliar with MakseLife, MakseLife is a goal-setting planner system that works amazing for me. I've used it for about the last year or so, and every year they come out with a reflections notebook. Now, to explain why I have two notebooks here. So I did fill out this notebook, but it is so messy and I didn't put as much thought into it as I wanted to. So I sat down and I watched the Tattoo Teacher Plans version of this, which I can link up above for you guys because she's amazing. I realized I really needed to spend more time with this. And since I had the previous year's reflections, but I was starting the MakseLife last year, so I felt like things to put in here. So I had an empty notebook. So what I did is, because the questions are for the most part the same, there are a couple of differences and we'll talk about that. But because the questions are essentially the same, I just transferred everything into here to have it look nicer and to put more thought into my answers. I'm going to try and do it in the order that it is in this notebook because one of the biggest differences is the order between these two books. So this is your yearly assessment over, you look at where you are versus where you started from. And to do this, I did pull out this year's, because I do all of my stuff in the companion notebooks. So every year you get one of these. And in here, there is a test you can kind of do to figure out where your score is. So both of these are off of the scores that I did for those tests to kind of see where things were. What I did is I marked in the color that it is, like what my current status is. And then I went with, actually, I think it was this pen, which is what are you? I got you at Go Wild. A blend pen. It's a zebra. And it's a 0.7. It's a super juicy pen and does a really nice dark printing and everything. So I used that to go ahead and put in where I started the year and the direction that I went, because it was much more visually appealing to me and really showed me where my growth was. So over here we have the current score and where I scored at the start of the year. And then I added a column here to show me how much did I increase or decrease. And the thought here, I actually used my Uni Jetstream, and this has a green and a red. And so if there was anything that was declining, I was going to put in red, but everything did end up increasing. Some of them not very much, but I did put least next to where my smallest amount was and most up here for my biggest jump, just to give you an idea of all the scores here. So we have personal at the top. Last year I started at a 5.75 and currently I'm at an 8.375, which was a 2.6-ish difference. So I felt like that was a reasonable jump. And then we have fun and recreation, which was really at a good point, I felt like, last year, but we made huge strides this year as well. So it started at a 5.8, almost a 5.9, and currently it's just over a 7, which was a 1.25 increase. Then we have work and learning, which I started at an 8.125 because I'm really satisfied doing my YouTube videos. It's really engaging for me. I enjoy the type of content I'm creating. So I did bump that up to a 9. It's not a huge growth, but I was already pretty high up on the scale. So that was a 0.875 overall increase. Then we have family and relationships. I started at a 5.5 and currently I'm gauging myself at almost a 7.9, which was a 2.3 increase. Then we have health and wellness. I started at a 2.9, which was pretty low. I'm currently at a 4.75, which is only an increase of 1.8. But I feel like when you're lower down on the scale, sometimes those increases are actually bigger than we see here, because those jumps, like my energy level increasing, plays such a huge role in everything else that even though it's a smaller jump than some of the other areas, it actually has more impact. Then we have spiritual and personal growth. I was at a 6 and I only made it to a 6.3. I struggled with this area and what to put there all year long. So that's an area I need to do a little bit more research and soul searching and figuring out what do I want to put there to really increase that, because it just feels off to me. And then we have financial. I started the year at a 4.25. I increased to a 5.125. However, this is another one where I feel like the scores maybe don't fully show the difference. Even though it's only a 0.8, almost 0.9 increase, as far as my awareness, it's much more. Does that make sense? So I've made huge growth there, but it's not exactly reflected in the numbers because it's knowledge, and now we need to take action on that knowledge. And then our last one is physical environment. I started at a 5.8, almost a 5.9, and have increased that to a 7.75, which was an increase of about 1.9. A lot of that has to do with just making my environment more of the environment I want, and taking care of some things that hadn't been done in a long time, like yard work. We talked about that yesterday. I'll link that video up above in case you guys missed it. Our overall score last year at this time was 44.25, and I've increased that to a 56.375. That is a 12.125 increase on my overall satisfaction of life, I would say. Over here you have a kind of gauge of how are you doing. So it says overall my scores increased, decreased, stayed the same. So overall everything increased. I was really amazed. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that MakseLife has a system where you're checking in weekly and keeping on task, which for my brain, I need. We have a couple of questions down here. It says areas of life that increase the most. Personal, this year was about finding out who I am and getting my life back on track. There was a lot to do, an area for growth. I also put kind of, and I touched on it up here, that health was another big factor. Even though it doesn't have as big of a jump, I feel like it had more impact. Area of life that increased the least, decreased the most. So I put spiritual, and most of the year I didn't know what to do with this area. I left the church, didn't have something else to put there. It's only been in the last couple of months that I started to figure that out. Here we have 3 words that describe 2024, and I put challenging, insightful, and mindful. 3 words to describe how I felt: exhausted, anxious, and dejected. Mentally, it's been a really hard year, between anxiety over things like the election and my kids and life in general, exhaustion. It just takes so much out of me to do simple things. 3 words to describe how I want to feel in 2025: fulfilled, valued, loved, and I actually added a 4th, which was hopeful. What I am most excited about in 2025, watching my kids continue to grow and become good people. I think they're well on their way to that, and I'm not just saying that from a mom's point of view. They are unique people, and I am so proud of them. Taking trips with my husband. The other thing I had here is finished big project. I'm really looking forward to my husband being done with this huge build he's been doing. He's a literally one-man operation. Well, okay, he hired his first employee in the last couple months, so I guess it's maybe a 2-man operation. Anyhow, but for him to finish it and finally be at a point where he can step back and enjoy life a little bit more would be amazing. Besides that, I have Dan performing. Dan is my second oldest. They're actually performing for band at Disney, and he'll be graduating from high school this year. Learning and growing on YouTube has me so excited. I can't even tell you guys how much YouTube has come to mean to me and how much the community here has come to mean to me. I really can't put it into words. I'm so grateful for the opportunities it's given me and the people that I've met through YouTube. And I'm always excited for a fresh start and to leave behind all of the mistakes of the previous year. What areas of life will be my focus in 2025? Financial is going to be a big one. I want to do some budgeting. I want to do some long-term type stuff like wills, which we should have anyhow because I'm not a spring chicken. And everyone really should have those end of life type financial things figured out, and we just haven't. We haven't taken the time. Mental health is going to be huge. Cooking is the other thing I have down here, / my relationship with food. It has suffered a lot over the last couple of years. I know it's something I need to work on. And I feel like if I can get my relationship with food in a better place, I might be able to increase my energy and have an overall better life experience, for lack of a better way to put it. Next, we have what am I going to say no to in 2025? So I have one-way relationships, should habits, and / expectations. This is something from the MakseLife video that they did. I'll link that up above for you guys. So they did a whole series of goal setting this year, and it's always really helpful. She talked a lot about should habits and how we don't really get those done. And I talked a little bit about that in yesterday's video as well. Unnecessary commitments that drain time and energy. Shopping to uplift spirits. I tend to, when I'm either angry or depressed, I shop. Usually for stickers or fountain pens or ink or all of the above. Unrealistic expectations of myself. Things that don't bring me joy. Trying to be something I'm not. This is a huge one for me because I want to be everything to everyone, and sometimes that isn't the best option for me. Church, I still believe in God, and there are some moral things that I think come out of church, and I believe in a higher power and that things happen for a reason, but the hypocrisy that happens at a church and the fact that I put so much into the people there, and then when I got sick, no one called. I just have no place for it right now for me. And I'm a little sad about that, but at the same time, church for me was about a community, and I got this realization that I didn't have one. I thought I did. I did a lot for the church, and in the end, I didn't matter, and it's time that I matter. Gardening is the other thing I put down here. I don't enjoy gardening. It takes a lot of energy. The bending down often makes me feel sick to my stomach. And I'm allergic to a lot of pollens. So just the act of gardening often makes me break out in a rash. And so one of the things I've talked about with my husband for this next year is actually hiring someone to do the gardening. Because I like the look of a tailored, garden. And we inherited a huge garden at our house when we bought it. And I have not been able to maintain it in the 20-some years we've been here. So it's time for me to give it up. And the last thing I have here is letting my stomach rule my life. So there are so many things I do or don't do, depending on whether I think my stomach can handle it. And it's time that, yes, those are a consideration, but figuring out a way to do the things that I want to do despite it. And the next question is, hold on, we're going to move these out of the way because we'll talk about those in a second. But what am I going to say yes to this year? Self-care / time for myself, creativity, which is so important to me. And it's kind of like creativity and learning are hand in hand as like the most crucial parts of my soul. And I've put them on the sidelines for way too long. Using my time wisely. This is a serious thing, but I'm so bad at it. New learning experiences, new travel destinations. So I always go to the same places, and it's time I see some new places. Do you know what I mean? Standing up for others. I think this is going to be really important in the coming year with the political environment and the world that we live in. Everybody is so angry right now. Hiking is another big thing that I want to include in my life again. So I used to really enjoy hiking, or just walking, and I think that is something I want back in my life. It's not going to be the same as it used to be. They're not going to be long hikes, but I can still hike. Books. So my anxiety had gotten to a level that I wasn't able to sit down and read a book. I'm doing audiobooks currently, and my goal is by the end of the year to be able to sit down and read physical books, but I'm so much happier when I'm reading books and listening to music. Oh, I didn't put music on here. We should add music. That I feel like it's crucial. So, mental health, more time with those who matter most. So, this year's book says, what personal needs of mine will I prioritize in the coming year? And that's what is on this sticky note. To answer that, I put creativity, education, self-care, and mental health. And in the question that they had in the previous year's book, it says, what am I going to stop apologizing for? Not no, not being everyone's cup of tea. It's okay if people don't like me, which is so hard and so ingrained in me that you have to please everyone, that's going to be hard, but it's time I be true to myself. I'm going to stop apologizing for my kids. They're autistic, they're ADHD, and they do weird things, but they're nice people. They don't intentionally do anything that would harm anybody. Yes, they're hyper. Yes, they're a little crazy and they're silly. But when they're doing those type of things, I'm not going to apologize for it. It's who they are, and they should be proud of who they are. And me apologizing for them is not making them proud of who they are. Just because they don't fit into a social norm doesn't mean that they shouldn't be proud of who they are. My husband, this is for the same reason. I mean, he's an amazing person. Does he have the best social skills? Maybe not. But he has the best heart out of anyone I know. And he works harder than anybody I've ever seen. And he's just an amazing person. Next, I have being a burden or inconvenience. I feel this a lot, especially with my extended family. I don't think they mean to, but I'm not going to put myself in situations where I feel that way, and I have a right to exist. I have a right to my own needs. And every time that I'm around them, I apologize for those things because they don't fit what, they think I should. So I'm going to try and stop apologizing for that. Taking time for me. I feel so guilty when I'm not being productive or doing something for my kids or my husband, but it's time. And I'm truly going to try this next year, is to be okay with having time for me, because really I'm apologizing to the world that I have needs. And I think a lot of moms put themselves in that situation, and it's time that we have time for us too. We're people too. We're not just a mom. Our last one on this page is so this question is also different between the two books. So on here I have who will be my support network in 2025. I have a couple of friends' names here: my husband, my kids, my therapist, and my GI doctor. Those are kind of my key circle without those people, I'm not sure I can get anywhere. However, in this year's book, it's what are my top 5 values going into 2025? And so I did this in 2 stages because I filled this out and these are what I had. Okay, we're going to say that first. My top values for 2025. This is what I thought my top values were: integrity, kindness, wisdom, creativity, and humor. And then I watched the Tattoo Teacher Plan's version of this, and she talked about this kit, which I had also purchased but not opened yet. And in here we have values, because this is kind of a support paperwork for your goal setting for the next year. And so in here it says my personal values, and they actually have this website, which I'll link down below. It's personalvalue.es. And essentially it's an assessment of your personal values, and you go in and you have all of these different values, and you click on all the ones that are important to you, and then you go through a series where you're prioritizing one over the other, and it puts it in order for you and tells you what your most important values are. And so according to that test, here are my top 5 values: family, creativity, curiosity, wisdom, and compassion. And I put humor down here because I don't think it had humor. I don't remember seeing it. And humor is super important to me. I'm not going to go over this sheet because that'll be tomorrow's video, which hopefully I'll have all of those done. We'll see. But that's where we are as far as these 2 pages go. Let me see. Next, we're going to wins, which was the next page over here. And so what I did to this is I tried to put wins in the color that coordinated with them. And I have a paper doll girl in the middle. At the very top here for personal, these are the wins that I put in. I created an AM routine. That has been super helpful for me. Got an ADHD and a dyslexia diagnosis. This helped me feel more normal. Higher self-esteem and self-care. I've done really well on that. And overall stress reduction. My stress level is much lower than it was at the beginning of the year last year. However, is it in a normal range? I don't know if I'd go that far. Next, we have work and learning over here. I said fine-tuned my focus on YouTube. At the beginning of the year, I was really trying. I have 2 channels. I have a channel called Disney Jess, with Disney spelled with a Z, where I do Disney pins, and then I had this channel. And while I enjoyed both, currently this gives me more satisfaction, and I don't have to buy anything to do videos here. I mean, I can, but I don't have to. And so there's a financial element of that. I also learned about better sound. I've done, I think, a lot better than last year as far as the sound quality for my videos. This has actually gone up a little bit. It is now, as of today, why am I putting a dollar sign? It's 1,800. So, and as of the day, I think I did this a couple of days ago. So I had made $490 on YouTube, which I'd made 0 the year before, or maybe 16. I don't know. But even though the money and the subscribers don't mean anything to me per se, other than I enjoy the feedback of knowing that people are seeing my videos and that I feel like I'm helping someone. That's the only tangible way I have of gauging that. So that's why I put it down here. It makes me feel very superficial to say, oh, here's my subscriber count, or here's how much money I made. Even though $490 is not very much. I might be able to buy a plane ticket or a pen. I actually bought a pen. Anyhow, then we have fun and recreation. I went to Planner Conference and started making time for me. I think I also should have probably put in here that I came to a realization of what my family enjoys versus what I think they should enjoy. Next, we have family and relationships. So I I developed closer relationships with the friendships that I already had. I made huge strides in boundary work. Are my boundaries as good as I would like them? No. Boundaries are hard for me, so we're going to continue to work on that. But that being said, I have some where at the beginning of last year, I'm not sure I did. Or if I did, they might have been this tall. And you could clear them pretty easy. Closer relationship with my kids. I really have enjoyed things like getting to know what their favorite cookies are, or just spending time and having them tell me about their friends and things like that. And I hope that never goes away. As far as physical environment, we have house clean, decluttered. Well, I didn't declutter or have the set cleaning schedule I had anticipated at the beginning of the year. My house is cleaner than it was a year ago. There are fewer things here inside as well as outside, and it just overall feels better. The yard cleanup is here, which was huge. That was a huge summer-long project, and we worked really hard on it and finished decorating the kids' bathroom. I started this before I got sick, and they had been living without a bathroom mirror. Like, we have other mirrors in the house, but they didn't have one in their bathroom for a year. And so we got that up, and it was a huge thing for me. As far as financial, I learned how to budget grocery shop, gained financial awareness, and did a good overall on low spend year. I really think I did do well on that. Now, the last month has not been great because I did splurge on a bunch of things on Black Friday in anticipation for what I felt I need for the next year, and I also bought clothes. So I need to figure that out, but I think overall I did well. And mindful spending used what I had first. Overall I did a really good job on that, especially with planning stuff. Over here we have this is spiritual and personal growth. I don't have a lot here because there wasn't a lot of movement there, but better defined faith for me is definitely something I felt I could put there. And then the last category is health. Worked with GI doctor to better control my stomach meds. This has been huge. I can't even tell you how big of a deal this is. Walked 2 miles in an hour, found protein shakes that work for me. This has also been huge because I cannot eat 3 meals in a day, so being able to have a protein shake actually really helps. Overall health improvement, and that's where my wins are. And then on this side, we have highlights or memorable moments. I started every Saturday walk / hangout with my friend Eleanor. Megan and Emily graduated from all therapy, so we've had speech therapy, occupational therapy, regular therapy. All those things happened this year, and we've gotten to a good place in all of them, although Emily is going to be going back to therapy. YouTube. Oh, these were my top videos and what their views were. I was super proud of them. Passion project, how to use series that I did for Vlogmas. I was really proud of that as well. Saturday summer cleanups with my kids. So I learned a lot about my kids and being able to clearly define my expectations on what we were going to do, give them a time limit so they know it's not going to last forever. There's a lot in getting them behind me and cleaning up things, so I was really proud of these summer cleanups. My ADHD and dyslexia diagnosis, Emily becoming more independent, Megan quitting skating. This is more of a memorable moment. I wouldn't put it as a highlight per se or a low light. It was just she'd been doing it for so long, like over half her life. And so it was a big deal that she stopped. And it was totally her decision and what she wanted to do. Ethan went back to college. He'd taken some time off for himself to kind of decide what he wanted to do. My parents' 50th anniversary party was a huge deal. Went to Disney solo for a week and was good. That was also a big deal. Dan taking so much college classes as a senior that the high school had to have a meeting about him. This was very amusing to me. Megan's first choir solo happened this year. Attended a planner conference. Took kids to the pool. Ethan started being more active and dating again. Worked hard with daily walks over summer. Worked out every day at gym for 6 weeks and then fell off the but I made it for 6 weeks. Started Friday check-ins with Jared. We bought Jared's office and went to Maine. I was sick the whole time and had to come home early. But the result of that was I was too sick to be able to take care of everyone up there, so they had to do it themselves, which was, I think, really good for everyone. Next, okay, let's see what our next page should be. I think the next ones are kind of in order. Next, we have challenges. So, what challenge did I overcome this year? Is the wording off of the previous year's. This year's is, what were the most significant challenges I faced and how did I overcome them? And I think I kind of combined them. So, the biggest challenges I had this year were that yard cleanup. It keeps coming up. Enlisting the kids, setting a firm 1-hour marker, and with clear communication, because I couldn't do it alone. I just didn't have the energy or the ability to do it on my own. Walking, couldn't walk for very long at the beginning of the year. Started walking every day, adding time or distance or speed each week. Could walk a 5K by the end. Accepting my ADHD diagnosis, research, trusting meds that they would work and trying them. And it's made a huge difference in my life, honestly. I haven't seen a big difference in my focus, but what I have noticed a big difference is how overwhelmed I feel by the world in general, and that has been huge. Stomach and general health, adjusting meds, found protein drinks that work, and lessen stress, still working on, but doing better. And then over here we have lessons learned. The wording from the year before was, what did I learn about myself and what am I most proud of this year? And this year's just says, what did I learn about myself this year? Most proud of my kids, my YouTube channel, the yard work, and not giving up. What I learned, mental health is more important than anything else. If I can't keep that on a good level, everything else just falls apart. I almost died. You don't just jump back from that. It's a lot of hard work. I function better with a snack or protein drink and one meal, meaning if I try to eat 3 full meals in a day, I just feel sick, and that disrupts my ability to do stuff. Having smaller meals and the protein drink really helps me to be able to do things. I push myself too hard and end up going backwards sometimes in my endeavor to make things, because I'm not very patient with myself, to try and make things go faster. I push too hard and then end up hurting myself either in a physical or mental way. Sleep is the biggest single factor to affect my mood. My kids are adults or almost adults and can do hard things. This one was really hard. I don't hold my kids accountable enough because I don't have support. This was a hard one. What tends to happen is I'll set a boundary or a consequence. They'll overstep, but I don't hold them to that because I end up going to bed and then they just circumvent me. So I need my husband to support me in those things. So we're working on that one. A morning routine is crucial for me to feel on task, and I get way more done if I do my morning routine. Okay, last year said, how have I changed and grown over this last year? What am I most proud of in terms of my growth? And the previous year said, how have I changed and how have I grown from a year ago? So I put, I am more confident. I have learned how much food I can handle. I'm less tolerant of people who don't help themselves. This one, I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing, honestly. I used to just give people as much help or leeway as I could, but at this point in my life, and I think it's an energy thing, if they're not helping themselves and trying, then I don't want to help them as much as I used to. And I don't know how I feel about that. I've learned a lot about YouTube. I've learned how to better support my family. That one's been huge. I have learned more about finances. That one's also been huge. I can't do late nights. That one's been sad. Became fountain pen and ink obsessed. And I've learned how to make some time for self-care. Going off of this year's wording, what am I most proud of? I think I would say that learning to support my family better is what I'm most proud of, because it has the most overall impact. But second place would probably be the financial stuff, because I've been putting it off for so long, and it is so big, because that is one of my biggest fears, is about financial stuff and not being able to do it and feeling like I am going to just mess everything up. As far as gratitude, both books have the same wording essentially for this, and it's what am I most grateful for, and it has the year. Being here, meaning, just being alive. My kids and my husband, Jared's office, or him having a space where he can go outside of the house to give him a separation of work and family. Jared's ability to fix cars. So I think it was both this year that he replaced. So we have kind of a fleet of Priuses for the kids. We feel like they're great cars for them to learn to drive on, and they just work really well for us. So in one car, he replaced a head gasket, actually. That was what him and Ethan did over the last month or so, because he blew a head gasket. And then we also replaced in Dan's car all of the batteries and everything, and had to work on the brake system. So, because we bought a car that needed a little work, and that saved us so much money being able to do it ourselves. And the the auto shop that we usually use, which is amazing, was like, hey, we don't work on a lot of Priuses. We're worried we're going to mess it up. Instead of trying, we're going to tell you that, and we think you should take it someplace else. And my husband was like, I don't trust anybody else. So he did it himself, and they worked, he would go to the auto parts every day and talk to him about it. And then they would loan him tools, and he'd come back and do stuff, and then he'd bring the tools back. It was hilarious. Sorry. PR teams. I'm really grateful for them. Not only being on a PR team, but the people you meet through it and the connections you make. One of the best ones that I've made is Wendy over at Wendy's Plans. She's amazing, sweetest person. And I kind of aspire to be her as I get older, because she's a little older than I am. I will link her up above. You should totally check her out. Friendships, the ability to travel, an amazing GI doctor, my therapist, MakseLife, and planners, chocolate, because we all have to be grateful for chocolate. I can't have a lot of it now, but I can still have some. I can't have gummy candies, but I can have some chocolate. So I'm grateful for that. And I also did monthly massages for most of this year, and those have helped so much in my overall physical pain. So I'm really grateful for them and my masseuse, honestly. Okay, next we have what's working. I think these questions are the same from here on out. So what things are currently working well in my life? My planner, nightly brain dumps on daily pages, goal setting, meds. These have really controlled my stomach issues well. Saturday walks, weekly check-ins, YouTube, AM routine, and using ChatGPT to help with tasks. This has been a huge help, because I'll tell it what video I've made, and I'll give it all the details, and I say, can you help me write a description, because I suck at writing descriptions. And it can help me with that, and it saves me so much time. And I'm really grateful for that ability. Okay, what's not working? What things are currently not working well in my life? My PM routine, journaling, time management, family time, spiritual and personal growth, no idea what I'm doing, and spirituality, no church, but needs something else. Next, we have impact. How do I want people to experience me? In what ways Do I want to create an impact in the lives of my loved ones or the world at large? I want to be the support my family needs. I want to be seen as knowledgeable. I want to inspire people in some way. I want to be beautiful. Now this is this is like a physical appearance. I want people to see me as, if not beautiful, like not hideous. Does that make sense? And I don't feel like I am. So it's something I want to work on. I want to be a priority, loved and accepted, creative, and good sense of humor. So those are the things that I am hoping for. Adjustments. What adjustments do I want to make in my life for the coming year? I want to learn more about healthy cooking, read more, family time, see more movies, plays, or concerts, exercise, less stress, fruit picking, as simple as that is, making a budget and reduce debt, and travel more. And I think that's everything. I haven't done the letter to myself. I might do this on New Year's Eve as a good way to roll out of last year and into this year. But that is all I haven't done in the book so far. So that is today's video. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be going through the packet for the annual goals worksheets that MakseLife came out with, because I really like these as well. I'm about halfway through them, I think. So I'm hopeful for that. But as far as reflections go, I think we're pretty much done here, and we're going to start on really focusing in on what goals I want to happen in the next year. We'll do that, and then we'll be working on our actual goal setting and setting up our new annual goals little workbook and setting monthly and weekly goals. We'll hopefully get through all that this week. I hope this was helpful to you guys. I'd love to know your biggest takeaway. Was there something that you found really helpful from this video? Or what was your biggest takeaway from this last year in your own lives? I'd love to hear about it. And until next time, which is hopefully tomorrow, I'll see you real soon.